That should help. I haven't used this section of OBS in a long time. All right, so we've got like 5 to 10 minutes before, well, maybe 15, 20 minutes before I absolutely have to pull the plug. So, didn't really have time to get a game going and do anything. But I didn't want to neglect my friends. So, oh man, this would work so much better with the green screen. Alright, so let's do it this way. Can I add... I believe I have everything I need here. Boom. Yeah. Oh, okay, that's behind me. And we don't really need to see the whole thing, do we? I can shrink the camera a little bit, I think. And then I'll be completely out of the way. Alright, so, I guess before we do anything, let's say thanks to our friends. Tufel9191 for the subscription. 13 months of subscription. Somebody thinks I'm doing something right. And I'm not going to argue much. Or at all, apparently. Thanks also. Beans yesterday with the $3 tip as well as a follow. This is probably not the content you're looking for. I've been streaming games for years. I will continue to stream games. That's absolutely my intention. And if history is any indication, it's more than intention. It's highly probable. It's going to happen. Let's see. But since we only have a few minutes today, like I said, I wanted to check in. Also, well, let's see. Who else we got? Whoopin' Aces, Soko Sukaitis, Ahan, Stinky, Yuri Korn. Thanks everybody for your support and interest. It's I find it inspiring. So let's get back to there we go. So, okay, apparently I have 70 new tweets I'm not even looking at. I'm not really sure what's happening in the news. I saw something where somebody was replying or responding to a comment from Larry Summers, who's an economist. Actually, he is an economist. He's a professional economist and talking head who has been wrong. I don't know. Show me when he was right. At least consistently wrong throughout the years. He's, I believe he's a neoliberal. So basically he's just about making sure that Wall Streets and corporations get paid at the expense of all else. And I am guessing here. I think his motivation, his perspective is that the strong dollar, the internationally strong dollar, is the most important aspect of the economy. Maybe he's right. I don't think so. I think quality of life, and if we're talking about we're Americans, we control the American economy. Quality of life of Americans should be if not the priority, well, a very high priority. And anything that prioritizes higher would still need some sort of balance with quality of life, of everyone on Earth, but especially Americans. And try not to sound like a nationalist, but even if you are an internationalist, even if you're a globalist, well, I think globalist is something different. Oh no, one of my shoelaces is longer than the other. I hate when that happens. It's eventual, but we'll get over it after this quick adjustment. So we do need to make sure we're taking care of Americans. Well, it's kind of like, you put your own oxygen mask on before you help the person next to you. It's just rational. And What is life if not quality of life? There are other aspects to it, existence, continued existence, and we've developed ethics surrounding moral narratives, as well as the underlying moral fabric, the intrinsic, the instinctual morality. Oh man, it's already 9:30. So all of this to say that Larry Summers, whatever his motive is, and I suspect it's maintaining a strong dollar, is not the end-all be-all. And sacrificing American quality of life should not be easy. In fact, it should be a deterrent. But what that was about, there's I guess I don't know if it's called Silicon Bank, or if it's a Silicon Valley Bank, or if it's a group of banks that are based on some sort of technology. I don't know. I haven't read into it yet. But apparently they're having problems, and Larry Summers is calling for a 100% bailout. And it's like, of course he is, because, he's got to take care of the shareholders and keep the dollar strong. And the people that are getting screwed over, the people that put their money in those banks, the people that owe money to those banks, they're on their own. They're just screwed. Their debt will be bought by someone else. The terms will change. They will still owe the same, if not more. And the people that had their money invested in that bank, well, sorry. Maybe you'll get a little bit, but probably not. And if that's Larry Summers' answer, then I'm going to go out on a limb and say he's just wrong. What else we got here? 3 followers after 13 years. Okay, so he's complaining that this Twitter profile, 29 following. So they follow 29 and they have 3 followers. So a basic income for those who choose not to work. So take even more out of my pocket to make you feel good. No, you must work for what you want. I actually think we should open up stores that cover just the basic for those on a free ride. Just what you need to live on. That's an interesting idea. Dispensaries for the underclass. But if you're going to have capitalism, basically, if we have a capitalist society, which we do, anyone who lives here is forced to engage in capitalism. You're either going to be a victim of it or a participant of it, if not both. So the idea of UBI allows for greater participation. And yeah, there are caveats to UBI. I still am a strong supporter of it, but I also believe that just throwing money at people it'll help, but it'll also create new problems. And the idea of inflation is usually the best argument against UBI. And when we have monopolies and not co-ops, but when you basically have 3 companies that control 90% of the groceries that are sold in America, and you want to give people a UBI, those companies are going to say, people have more money, we can extract more money from them, let's raise prices, and then we'll get more profits. Oversimplifying it, but if you think that's not going to happen, you're just naive. And real estate is and medicine is probably where that will be most visible. So I think we need stronger anti-monopoly. We need perhaps price control in order to make UBI. Well, even without UBI, these things would still be beneficial in a time when profits are basically predatory. Should companies be allowed to make a profit? Absolutely. But there's this idea, in capitalism is based on the idea that resources, put something, get the resources, that costs something, if labor, if nothing else, add something to that, so some kind of labor on top of the resources creates a different product, so you're adding value with, and then so you're charging more for that product than the initial resources. And the idea is that you're increasing value, so you're charging for the extra value plus a little profit, maybe a lot of profit, and then all the way up the line, as you're adding value, you are also increasing your costs into the development of your final product. And if the value added is consistent with the cost added, there would be no profit. So I would say you need some kind of profit, because that allows for growth, and it also allows for incentive. And that's one of the biggest problems with communism, is people realize, oh, if I work harder, then I get the same if I'm lucky. So with capitalism, the biggest driving force is probably incentive, and everything has a built-in incentive, although sometimes those incentives can be perverse or corrupt, which don't have to look very hard to find examples. I got to wrap things up soon, and we're only on the second item. Let's see. So the idea of just giving life essentials to the poorest people does not allow for them to have a better life. Now, I think what he's getting at is that if they want a better life, they have to work. So basically, if you want a better life, you have to work for someone else. You have to do what someone else says, because you can't just go out, find your own resources, and develop your own products. I suppose you could do services like, hey man, I'll make sure no one robs you while you're walking down the street. There are services that don't require much in the way of resources to provide. But the idea that everybody is going to be able to just find a job that doesn't offend their sensibilities, and maybe it's okay if they offend them a little bit. That's kind of how things, even if you're living in the wilderness, I don't want to chop down this tree, but I need the wood. So, there will always be sacrifices of want versus need. But the idea that if you want to have more than the bare minimum, then you need to subjugate yourself to the will of someone who's going to be profiting off of your services. It seems like there should be more options than that. So with UBI, you have options because you now have resources, because you are getting money, and you can use those resources for self-improvement, for physical objects or services that allow you to make yourself more useful to other people, or you could just spend it. You could, how many starving artists are there? Wouldn't it be nice if they could be a little less starving and had a little bit more to work with, although there's something to be said for resourcefulness. But even then, limited resources, give them a little bit more resources, and if they can do something with that that's useful, interesting, entertaining, whatever the purpose of art can be, then so much the better. The other side of here is, and I get this, is the idea that I'm working, everyone else should, it's not fair that I'm doing all this work, and I'm making a mockery voice, but I have to work so that I can have what I want. Other people should have to work so that they can have what they want. It's not fair that I should have to work and they don't. Yeah, I get that. You see that in all kinds of primates. Take a lab experiment, put cage with two monkeys next to each other. Teach the monkey to do a task, monkey gets a reward. So you have monkey A do a task, he gets a little piece of cracker. Have monkey B do the same task, he gets a grape. Monkey A, 9 times out of 10, is going to start to lose his shit because that's not fair. Grape is better. I did the same thing. Where's my grape? And this is a, well-established phenomenon in primates. So it's, same thing here. But with UBI, it's not that you're giving people money for doing nothing, although it will turn out that way sometimes. And we'll get back to that. You're giving them money to do anything. You're giving them the opportunity to do what they want, something useful, some kind of self-employment, even if they're just going to, be a community contributor or a stay-at-home mom. The money goes to them, which goes back into the economy, and these people are going to be spending money, maybe on Amazon, maybe in their local economy, probably some kind of mix. And I use Amazon as one example. Why not Chewy? So, the likelihood that you will improve your local economy, help small businesses, is almost certain. Even if it's small, it will be better than nothing. What was the other thing? I should have written it down. Doing nothing. Yeah, I don't remember now. So and it's a common point that I bring up. I just have forgotten it already. You must work for what you want. So you create opportunities for local businesses. You create customers for local businesses. And that money goes back into the economy. And it allows people to make better choices. Maybe it'll be better nutrition. Maybe it'll be better housing. Maybe it'll be self-improvement. Maybe it'll be video games. Or, maybe it'll be drugs. But you're giving people more autonomy. Oh, here's what it was. What I was forgetting. It's an investment in people. So instead of paying people for their performance, you're investing in people to allow them to become more. And I would say that maybe half the time it's going to have that effect. But again, if it's a basic income, it's not going to be something to thrive on. It's going to be something to get by on, and or allow you to do a little bit better. I also like the idea of mandatory profit sharing for hourly employees, but with 3 minutes left before I need to pull the plug, that's probably not, don't have time to go into that. Maybe it makes sense immediately, maybe it doesn't. Oh, here's another Scott's. Oh, that is the same. Let's see, use one word to describe this person. I hate this when I see this. This is a person that's just farming reactions. It's like, I'm making myself relevant because you see here, we have 4,000 replies, and it's just like, what is this person doing? Are they adding anything? In a way they are. They're stimulating a conversation, just like I'm using Twitter to give us something to talk about. She is using Twitter to give other people something to talk about. But there's just something that I find dishonest about it. It's like, it's not that she is adding. Yeah, I can't say she's adding nothing, because she is a catalyst for conversation. But it makes her look more relevant when she has more followers or likes. Yeah, why are there likes for this? I like that. Use one word to describe. I don't know. Yeah, it's just the information economy, I suppose. Maybe I'm jealous because moms are able to go to work. I wish the wording of this was more oriented towards unpaid care work, bean work, so, which we were just talking about a little bit. Some parents were able to, or I should say I mentioned it, some parents were able to choose to do unpaid care work, and others were able to better afford to pay for care work, which better afforded their employment. Yeah. Child tax credit cut child poverty in half. I don't know if that's 100% accurate, but it was definitely beneficial to a lot of people. And again, it puts money into local economies. And if you're a conservative, why would you be against that? Also, if you're a conservative, even if you're not a conservative, you probably understand that if our birth rates drop too low, then that is detrimental to the economy overall, and the survival of the human race, which, we've got a whole planet out there of people that are still making babies. So maybe not that big a concern, but it puts us arguably at a disadvantage for populations relative to the rest of the world. And again, if you're a conservative, we're going to need soldiers, right? Justin Amash. I like Justin Amash. Don't agree with him 100% on everything, but let's see. The First Amendment protects the spreading of information in almost every context. It does so because what's widely perceived as false may sometimes be unpopular truth. Yes, absolutely. I mean, the history of the improvement of knowledge is people tend to believe one thing until someone comes up with a better idea, and through the diffusion of innovation, that tends to spread, but there is typically resistance, especially if people are relying on the old paradigm for some kind of stability or income. They're just going to argue against a better belief if it's not better for them. It recognizes that human progress is built on the advancement of ideas the majority once did not accept. Kind of the same thing, yeah. Justin Amash used to be a congressman, senator, I think. He quit after 1 or 2 terms, libertarian, but he's a reasonable guy. And I'm sure that some of his libertarian ideology is going to rub against my grain, or my own beliefs, which I hate to think of as ideology, but it's kind of developed into that because over the past few years, very little has changed my opinion on how I see things as working. Larry Summers uses the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank to push for more banking consolidation because he thinks bigger banks are safer, as opposed to banking regulation. Historically, unregulated banks have problems, fail, screw customers over, whatever. Regulated banks, less so. Plus, there was the recent act, I say recent, like last 20 years, that allowed investment banks and retail banks, the common user, checking savings account, that's a retail bank. Investment bank, hopefully mostly self-explanatory. There was a regulation that prevented a bank from engaging in both activities. That went away, and then we started having problems that ended with Occupy Wall Street. Ended? Maybe not ended. But yeah, the idea that, and I get that correlation is not causation, but the correlation of less regulation tending to result in more failure and more corruption and more people on the street getting screwed over, that deserves a lot of attention. And if you understand how deregulation leads to that, then it kind of makes sense. My conservative friend is here. They're actually suggesting that waste of oxygen in blood cells, Jojo. What? They're actually suggesting that waste of oxygen in blood cells, Jojo. I don't know what that means. Under your who to follow? My who to follow? Oh, who to follow? JoJo. I've seen some things from JoJo, and I don't think I've ever 100% agreed with her. Other people will retweet her or like her, and so she ends up in my feed. But yeah, I don't typically, 9:50, I gotta go. Yeah, there tends to always be something wrong, and I'm going from memory here. There tends to always be something wrong with what she's saying. She's an absolute and complete idiot. The fact that she can type is a miracle. The fact that she can make English words is an act of God. Well, I don't believe in God. Mom, Jersey, Dan, let's see. Maybe someday women in America will have as many rights as guns do. It's kind of a throwaway observation. Republicans can't go for a single day without totally and utterly embarrassing themselves in this country, can they? Yeah, but that goes with Democrats as well. I see so many of the complaints that I see Democrats making about Republicans and Republicans making about Democrats. It's just like, whoa, dude, hypocrisy, glass house. What's one show that was can't miss TV when you were a kid? Going with Knight Rider. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't, the sci-fi stuff that I liked wasn't, it's hard to justify as being any better. Battlestar Galactica. Who isn't facing imminent criminal charges for their role in payment of hush money? The email lady? Oh, hush money to a porn star? Oh, so this is support of Hillary. It's like, yeah, so who cares? So this is just another statement that doesn't really mean anything. It's like a distraction. You might as well be saying yeah. The only thing outpacing Joe Biden's job numbers are Donald Trump's pending indictment. That's funny, but it's not true. Because yeah, sure, he's got a lot of pending indictments, but it's if you look at the what would you call it, graphs, they wouldn't be parallel. It's a boogeyman. Let's see. Republicans who can't define what woke means. Well, see, this is another problem, is because Democrats also have a problem defining what woke means. And most of the people that agree that are kind of bullied along to go with wokeism don't really understand everything that it's going with. And then like CRT should, wow, it's just a whole topic. There's a place for CRT in academia and policy thought, but it needs to be limited. Again, it's not one of those, you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And the things that woke people are trying to defend or advance are things that have already made so much progress, and they're acting like we're still in the dark ages. And wokeism has totally become a baby, throwing the baby out with the bathwater movement. It's disgusting. It calls for censorship, and what wokeism or what woke meant in like the 70s or 80s, I can get along with that. But what it is today is just this obnoxious movement. I gotta close this because I shouldn't have closed it, but I meant to minimize it, I guess. Let's see, where are we? History, recently closed windows, bam. Oh, actually, that was just Twitter, wasn't it? So I guess I could have closed it. But yeah, she's not a thought leader, in my opinion. Hey, who's that guy? Can we do? I can't do that. So I can do this. Also, for what it's worth, I'm a constitutional libertarian. Yeah, there's a lot to like about libertarianism. I'm libertarian, but I'm more of in some ways, I'm more of a liberal or left-leaning libertarian. But I also believe that there is a place for government in the lives of the people and in civics as a whole. And yeah, I think we would agree at the bigger, the overarching idea, but where that lands, how much government should be involved in regulation, people's lives, the economy, exactly where we put that pin, I think there's room for disagreement, and I'm okay with that. I don't know if there is a right answer. There's probably some sort of algorithm where that pin needs to move to respond to the needs of the people, but yeah, it can definitely go too far one way or the other. Government in idea for the people, by the people, perhaps. Government as we have it now, as an overlord telling us how to live. Yeah, in some ways I agree with that, in some ways I don't. And again, exactly where to put that pin or area marker, it's hard to say. Anyway, I've got 5 minutes and my drive is going to be 10 minutes, so I'm going to be late. Appreciate you stopping by and chatting. I don't know if I'll do this again, but with the limited time I had, this is what I came up with. So till next time, be well. If anyone else is here, is anyone else even here? Is it just, I think it's just you and me. Anyway, if anyone else does see this, mostly gaming, but always willing to talk about stuff. So, always more fun when you're here. Hope to see you next time. Till then, be well.